Welcome to Studying Law Around the World. I'm Claudio Klaus. In each episode, I talk with lawyers, law students, and professors from different parts of the world to talk about legal education, careers, and what the profession looks like in real life. We talk about the hard parts, the surprises, and the decisions that shaped their paths. Whether you're planning to study abroad, thinking about working in another legal system, or just curious about how law works around the world, this podcast is for you.
So many of the guests on this podcast have talked about how important it is to have strong writing skills as a lawyer. It's true, written communication is essential in this profession, but it can also be one of the trickiest skills to master. If you find your writing feels a bit clunky, or you're getting a lot of edits on your work, or perhaps you're breaking into an English speaking jurisdiction for the first time, Grammatica International can help. I'm Rebecca Lockwood, the lawyer, mediator, and educator behind Grammatica, and we help lawyers and law students to write more sharply, speak more clearly, and advance their careers with group training and one-on-one skills coaching designed just for legal professionals. I have worked with so many lawyers like you who are exceptionally smart, qualified, and capable, but need a bit of guidance to stand out in a competitive legal market. And I get it myself, having lived and worked in 5 countries during my 17 years in law and education. Whether you're looking to sharpen your writing skills generally, refresh your CV, or draft an application for a law program, Grammatica can help. Visit grammatica.co to learn more.
Today, I have the opportunity to interview Sunny Kim. She has an incredible story and career, and I'm so excited for you all to get to know her a little better. And to start today's episode, first of all, I wanted to thank you for being willing to be here today, Sunny. And also wanted to ask you to start us off here by introducing yourself and telling our listeners a little bit about your background.
Sure, it's great to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah, so again, my name is Sunny Kim, sunny like the weather. I have been in law for about 6 years. I practiced in the beginning as a tax lawyer after graduating from Columbia Law School. And I worked at Davis Polk in the tax department. And then I transitioned to Gunderson Detmer, which does a lot of startup and fund formation work. And then most recently, I was in-house at a private equity firm out here in California where I am now. And I just had a really great boss. I had really interesting work. And at the same time, I was like, okay, I'm so lucky with my current job in so many respects, but something is missing. Like, I want to feel super excited to wake up every morning. And I wasn't getting that. And I was like, oh my gosh, something's wrong with me. I need to change something. And so I did a really what seems like a crazy thing, and I put in my notice, and I was really honest with my boss, who was, like, amazing and very understanding. I said, "I just wanna take a career break to figure out what I wanna do, and just take some time for myself." And so I quit my job, and then I have always loved writing. It was one of the things that I really enjoyed about practicing. In tax law, there's a lot of new regulations coming out all the time. So, writing a memo for clients, for example, or writing tax opinions, writing even for tax controversy projects, just writing always was my sort of, yeah, my strong suit, but also something I enjoyed the most. So I was like, okay, I want to maybe write. It's what something that I gravitated towards. So I looked up like how to start writing online or something. And then I found a lot of articles like, hey, don't write on blogs because no one's going to find it. Write on a social platform. So I actually started writing on Twitter, and I had 0 Twitter audience and no one was reading my stuff. And at the time, I at least had like 1,000 people I knew on LinkedIn. And so I wrote my first post about quitting my job and gaining a sense of control over my time, and also heightened sense of self-worth because it was the first time I did something purely for myself. I feel like most of my life I kind of lived to get external validation. And, this was the first time where I really did something truly for myself. And so I wrote about that, my first post ever, and it got like 60,000 people to read it, which I was like really shocked by. And so many people messaged me saying that the post resonated with them. And so I kept writing since then. And once I started writing, I guess because it is a social platform, even though I had a really small audience, a lot of people were reading my stuff and they were saying, how can I write like you? Or how can I write LinkedIn posts? And so I actually started helping them for free. A lot of them were lawyers, and one of my first clients who I love working with. I was like, let's just do this as an experiment. I want to see what this can do for you. He just had left a really big law firm to start his own practice. And he was like, okay, he called me and he said, this is crazy, but like I used to have like 1,000 people read my posts. It's like in the couple first hours since you helped me with this post, I have like 5,000 people reading it. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And then so we kept going. And then you would call me again, being like, hey, like people are calling me and wanting to work with me as a client because like they're seeing my posts. I was like, he's like, at this point, I think it makes sense to start paying you. And so that's where it started. I was just, it evolved into a business, and I have been doing that since. I help lawyers build their brand and presence on LinkedIn to attract whatever opportunity that it is. Sometimes it's clients, sometimes it's to land a valuable job opportunity. And it's been really fantastic. And I've just met so many lawyers who have really benefited from putting themselves out there. They've gotten over that fear and done it. And they have been really surprised by the opportunities that came their way. So that is what I do now. That was a long introduction, but yeah, that's where I'm at now.
That's amazing. And I love that you did a complete one because now we can have a clear idea of who you are, what you've done, and what you do these days. So it couldn't be any better than that. But I'm really curious, right? You mentioned a few different things. You mentioned that you've helped lawyers and you saw them having those results. And then I'm really curious about as you continued helping other people, what are some of the challenges that you've seen, that you've heard people saying, or that even you faced yourself in this sense of, trying to stand out in competitive environments that you've been in quite a bit, be it law school or law firm setting?
For sure. That's a really great question. I have had this challenge, and I've heard it from other lawyers as well. It's like all of us are really great at what we do. And I think we have a lot of pride in our level of work and expertise that we continue to build upon. And I think the traditional sort of saying that we have heard as lawyers is put your head down, do really good work, and your bosses, your clients, they will see that and come back. And I believe that is true to some extent. But what I did read in actually a recent study, there's a book called Activator Advantage. I think it's a Harvard Law Review or Business Review Press book. And this book interviewed like over 3,000, I think a majority, like 40% were lawyers. And that model of like put your head down and do good work, that doesn't work as well. That the efficiency of that is decreasing because more and more clients have more options when it comes to choosing lawyers. There's a lot of boutique practices, and clients are becoming less loyal to sticking to one lawyer that they work with for a long period of time. And I found this to be true myself and for other connections that I have who are in-house counsel. Like they have had a long-term relationship with one firm, but, we don't feel bound to just work with one firm anymore. There's a lot of firms that specialize in a particular type of work, and I think we are becoming more aware of that, especially because there's a lot of information out there now. And what works is the people who are proactive about making it known to the world. This is my expertise. This is how I help. And this is how I can also use my expertise to help you specifically solve your particular challenge or issue that you're going through. And the thing is, like, even if you are really great at your job, because there are so many other lawyers in your practice area, it is hard to stand out if you just put your head down and do good work and no one knows about it. Clients, as I said, they have a lot of options. And I think a lot of opportunities actually go to lawyers who are very proactive about providing value to clients before they're asked, about sharing on platforms like LinkedIn what it is that they do, how they add value, and just continuing to educate their audience even before like the clients even knew that this was a particular legal issue or something, right? So, yeah, I think the challenge is definitely getting yourself known and trusted because just like any business, lawyers especially, it's a people business, and people want to work with lawyers that they like and trust. And in order to do that, you have to kind of put yourself out there. And LinkedIn is a really great platform for that because we like to go to networking events and there's value in that. It's just really hard to connect with people one on one through networking events. Time is finite and the number of people that you can meet at these events is limited. But when you put a really valuable piece of like LinkedIn post out there that educates your audience, kind of tells them a little bit about you and shows that you not only educate them, but also you're relatable, you can reach like thousands of people at once, even with a small network. And so that's like scale that you can't really replicate through copy chats or networking events. And so I have found that for those lawyers who are facing that challenge of really building a book a business or kind of becoming a person where people approach them with job opportunities, LinkedIn has been a really great way for them to put themselves out there in a way that's really natural and also just reaches a lot of people at once.
That's amazing. That's so incredible. And I love that the way you mentioned it, it's so incredible that people who are still wanting to stay at their job and want to stand out at the company that they currently work at, they can stand out through that. And then on the other side of the spectrum, if you have your own firm and you're a solo lawyer and you're trying to, bring more attention to your practice, you can also do that. So I love how you can really have, regardless of your goal, it seems like working with your brand and making sure that you put yourself out there have some really interesting benefits. And as you said, you've been working with people who've seen that. So that's just so interesting to see. I appreciate you sharing those.
Yeah, no problem.
Amazing. I've seen here, I went through your profile and I saw a little bit of what you do. I saw that you work with a few different services these days and products. You have your own course, you have coaching that you do one on one or in groups. You also provide workshops at law firms and in other settings. And I was curious to know also how can you tailor those to people's different needs? As I just mentioned, a few people might be, I'm a lawyer, I love the firm where I'm at, and I just want to grow here, but also there's other people who want to find work elsewhere or who want to, go into their own practice. So how do you manage all of that, those different goals and using branding as a tool for achieving them?
Yeah, definitely. So, totally, I totally agree with you. People have different needs. And that's why I've built out an offer ladder that addresses what people may be looking for at different price points and also different level of involvement, right? So, for the people who just want a proven system that they can execute themselves to build their presence on LinkedIn and start attracting opportunities, they could take the course. It's like only $97, but it gives you the foundation and the precise steps and examples and templates so you could build your brand yourself starting today. And then the people who want more tailored coaching because they have a specific audience that they want to target they feel lost on how they want to position themselves. They've done like litigation, but they've also done a little bit of corporate work. Like, in that circumstance, they may be confused. Like, how do I position myself? And so, if you want that more tailored help, but it's more condensed and limited to an hourly basis, then I offer that power hour that you can really get my tailored feedback. And then for people who are just really busy, they don't want to think about it. They want a person like me who is an expert at brand strategy to just handle it all from how to position themselves on LinkedIn, but also to help them write content in their voice with just an hour of their time for an interview to gather those stories to make good content. I just handle it from A to Z. It's like a white glove service. So some people might like that. And then for law firms, they really want to empower their attorneys to develop business and build their own brand because at the I think what's changing is that a lot of companies realize that people don't resonate with company logos anymore. They resonate with people. That's why you see, even in financial institutions like Blackstone, for example, they're already really well known, but you see John Gray, who's the COO, he's always recording videos about him running in different locations that he travels to. You see Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan. He already had a really strong brand, but I really see him amping up his LinkedIn presence and posting like videos of him in a really casual outfit, just sharing like an earnings report because they all realize that personal branding is important. That is what is going to set them apart and really not only amplify their brand, but also bring up their organization's brand. And so, yeah, law firms, I think, are also following suit on that. They realize that clients want to connect with the actual individual lawyer because if you remove the corporate branding from all of these law firms, they pretty much like sound the same across all the brochures. And so your lawyers are the ones who really set your firm apart because people want to work with the lawyer that they trust and like. And so, yeah, those are the different offers that I have. And it's tailored depending on how much of a light touch or heavy touch you want with building your presence.
Fantastic. Well, as for the podcast here, a lot of my following right now and people who are interested in listening are early career professionals or law school students. And I'd love to hear a little bit about, your thoughts on, I'm an early career lawyer. I'm just starting to build my professional brand. I'm still figuring out what I want to do. So I don't want to kind of close myself to one area. What are some simple steps that you can take to build that professional brand, and still be, I'm not an expert in any area yet. I'm just starting my career. I'm just finishing up law school, but I still want to put myself out there. What can professionals in this kind of scenario do?
That's a fantastic question. And I feel like you're actually an expert on this because you're doing it yourself. So I totally hear that someone who is just maybe in law school or early in their legal career, they don't know yet what practice area maybe that they want to commit the entire course of their legal journey for. So at this stage, it may be a benefit to them to learn what are the different practice areas out there. First, kind of narrow down what are some of the areas that you are interested in and start maybe interviewing lawyers who practice in those areas like you are doing. DM them, see what you learn about their practice, what are the things they like, what are the things that are challenging for them, and then just use that not only for yourself to absorb it, but share that with your audience. Start reporting back like you're doing. I had a conversation with so and so, like this is what I learned. You can build a brand that way where you are the person who is consistently reporting back for other audience members who are also maybe early on in their careers, saying these are the different options out there and what I learned. I think that's a really great way. Another thing is, you don't have to start by posting. It may feel overwhelming in the beginning. You can start with baby steps. So, first thing is kind of just make sure you have a pretty polished profile. You have a photo on there, you have a banner, you have a headline that shows it could even be like, law student exploring corporate transactions or something like something that shows you have some interest if you have one. It could just say like law student at so and so university. But yeah, have a profile where you are still, you have a photo and people know that you're a real person because a lot of law students actually don't even have a photo or a headline. And especially in an age where we're very suspicious about fake accounts, not having those basics, it's kind of like, these are all foundational things. And so I definitely recommend those basic things and then start reaching out to people that you want to network with to kind of get a sense of what it is that you may be interested in the future. And then people actually really love connecting with people, especially even if you are very experienced, they love hearing from junior lawyers or law students who have taken a genuine interest in what we're doing. And so when you send a connection request, I would recommend that you personalize that request. You can add a note saying, "Hi, I'm a student or I'm a junior lawyer and I'm trying to explore my options on what I want to do with my legal career. Your practice area in XYZ. I've always found it really interesting for ABC reasons. I would love to learn more if you'd be open to connecting." And then once they accept your connection request, follow up and say, "Hey, like, would you be up for 15 minutes just to talk and ask for me to ask some questions about your practice area?" And then just like naturally start the relationship from there. And so having a newsletter, having a podcast, that could be one way for you to start that process more consistently and naturally because people are definitely open for it. But if you already have a platform or like a newsletter that's simple to start, that gives you a little bit more, I guess, legitimacy and people wanting to come on, right? They're like, "Oh, wow, you have a podcast or you have a newsletter? Yeah, I'd love to be featured." It's like a natural opener for you. That's one thing that I would recommend you do. And you are really the prime example for doing that because you've been doing that for a while. But I think that's a really, really great way to start.
I love that. And it's sometimes I find that there's a lot of general principles, but then when it comes to actually giving you an actionable idea, it becomes a little harder, right? Of course, there's all styles of people. Some people want to definitely be very low key in their presence online. And I know that also some companies kind of prefer that you convey yourself that way. But I find it interesting to see that there's something that can be done for any kind of profile and personality. And I'm also thinking about people who are maybe unsure how to present themselves online. So I love
Mm.
that you said basics. You said have a photo, have, where you're at, and basically have a profile at all so we can know you're a real person. That, that already helps a lot. But I was wondering if there's any kind of like strategy or habit that you would recommend to somebody who's wanting to put in the time to try and be, a little bit putting themselves out there, but also are unsure of how to go about it. So
Yeah.
beyond, the having a profile out there, what would you say commenting on other people might be a good way to
Mm.
start? What are
Yeah.
some things that come to mind?
Yeah, I actually have a system on this because I think a lot of overwhelm comes from not knowing what to do and not having a system for it. And so the system that I recommend is dedicating about 90 minutes per week. Even if you're busy, you can make time for 90 minutes a week to grow your network if you're serious about it. And so it's broken down into a 1-5-10 LinkedIn system. Spend 1 hour drafting a post. So it could be an educational post. Just think about what are some of the questions that you've been asked, or was a legal development that recently came out that you could summarize for your audience. Relatable post. Something that's sharing a little bit about you, maybe something that's like, oh, these are, I've done like a lot of interviews. These are the top things that I've learned in my interview process. And this is for like maybe junior lawyers. These are the top tips I have from my own experience. Um, and I want to share them with my network. That's one. Some just like stories from things that happen just like day to day. Maybe it's like a mentor or a colleague who really helped you out and you want to give them a shout out. Promotional post, a win from the week. You don't want to share your client name or anything. You want to keep it confidential, but maybe you want an award. Maybe you publish an article. You can share that. So just do one and then dedicate 1 hour to it. And the next thing is five personalized DMs or comments. And so it could be just going through your feed. And if someone had a major milestone that they hit, send them a genuine congratulatory email or a message on LinkedIn. Comment on someone's post, but don't just say great insight or great post. Like add something a little bit more personable and humanizing that really shows that you read what they wrote and are adding a valuable and or even just like a very personal message. So yeah, you could either do it in the form of comments or DMs, but do five. And then 10, the last one is send 10 connection requests. So we talked about personalizing the connection request, but basically I would say 1 hour for the post, 20 minutes to send five personalized DMs or comments, and then 10 minutes for sending 10 connection requests that are also personalized. So that basically wraps it up to 90 minutes per week that you can spend doing it. And it's just really easy to remember. 1-5-10. One post, five connection or five comments or DMs, and then 10 connection requests.
Amazing. I find that a lot of times when you have a specific system in place and can be methodical about it, it becomes a lot easier to actually stick to it, right? And make it into a habit. So thank you so much for sharing that. Very,
Yeah.
very actionable. Going forward, I also wanted to ask you if you could share with our listeners, if somebody's interested in learning more about your work and about you, where should they look for information?
Great question. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can search my name, Sunny Kim, and my company name is Resonance Guide. You should be able to find me if you just look up Sunny Kim and Resonance Guide.
Fantastic. Any final tips or encouragement for lawyers who want to grow their presence online and also attract opportunities?
Yeah, my tip is, I totally understand that it is scary. We are not taught in law school and very taught to a limited degree and even in law firms about how to build brand. And I get that it's intimidating, but once you start taking the small steps that we talked about, maybe it's the first comment you write, maybe it's the first connection request you sent. That first step is going to make the next second, third step so much easier. All you need to do is just get started and also, if you even, want to amp up your profile and you feel like that needs a little bit of work, I actually have a free profile optimization video on my LinkedIn page that you can go to and check out. And if you subscribe to it, I also just share tips about things you can implement very easily through LinkedIn to attract whatever opportunity it is that you want. So I would start there and just, yeah, take baby steps. All that consistent action is going to add momentum and help you just really build visibility in a way that you didn't expect. So that's what I would say.
Amazing. Well, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story and to be here in the podcast. And thank you all for tuning in today.
Thank you.